Everybody, it's Tawny here, and I'm so glad I get to come here and yap at you again. I hope you've been having a good week. Mine has been a bit hectic and crazy. We're about to head to Washington for my grandmother's memorial, and so it's kind of been a mad dash to get everything together, and it's been very easy to give up on tasks and projects and things because stress has become so overwhelming. So I decided it would be a really good idea to do a video about failure and practice, to not only remind myself, but to also share my beliefs about it with you all, in hopes that it helps you as well. So first of all, let's talk about failure and the power of failure. Failure is an incredibly debilitating sort of thing. Not only is it debilitating, but it also is sometimes our biggest fear. So whether it's letting someone else down or letting ourselves down, the fear of disappointment from failure is something that's very prevalent in everyone, to at least some degree. But it's important to understand how necessary failure is. So it's easy to take, let's say, a handful of celebrities and their failure stories. I mean, those are the easiest ones to access in regards to how failure has also equaled success, because they are who we see every day in tabloids, on TV, we listen to their music. So when they tell us that it took them 10 years to have a single that took off, or it took them maybe 20 years of writing before a book became big, it's something that it's really obtainable. The difference between that and everyday life is that we are not all going to become celebrities. That sometimes is a big mixture of who you know, luck, and also hard work. I'm not saying that's the case for each and every one of them. I'm saying that a lot of times we see things like we see one of the, Kardashians being told that they're one of the best self-made, billionaires or millionaires or whatever, and we don't take into account the fact that their family did help pave that way, and that there were people that could be called to help assist in kind of speeding that forward. We don't take into account that sometimes our favorite author might have had somebody that they knew in that world that really assisted them. There are things that we don't see, so it's important to understand that failure is always going to happen, whether we are letting other people know about it or not. And so let's kind of start at the beginning where that's concerned. Failure is one of the most humbling things that can happen to you. It is burying yourself and saying that I tried and it didn't work. Maybe you tried your best, maybe you half-assed it. Either way, it didn't work. If you're an entrepreneur, this can be even more difficult because you're putting your pride, your reputation, and your honesty on the line when you're pursuing your dreams, with the very high chance that they will fail. The most important thing to understand is that failure should never equal giving up. Failure is a very necessary part of every business, of every practice, and of every life. In order to fail, you cannot, or in order to be able to embrace failure, you have to understand that you're learning something each time that you fail. So if you are working towards a business or a project, just because that business or project has failed does not mean you should give up on it, unless your heart is telling you that you are done with it and that it is not going to go anywhere for you. But if you still have some pull in it, if you still have passion in something, when you start it back up again, you're not starting from the beginning despite it feeling that way. You are starting at the start with knowledge from previous attempts. So no matter what, you are going to be a leg up on where you were the time before. And sometimes all it takes is a little bit of extra knowledge about what you're doing to propel you to that next level. It could easily be the missing part that you needed to push yourself into success. So every time that you restart from failure, you are restarting a leg up from when you started before. It's also important to use failure as a way to really build your own character as well, not just your business and your knowledge of it. For instance, if you have been failing with coworkers, Perhaps that's the way that you are communicating with them. Perhaps there's something in coworkers that you need to seek out in the next group and ensure that you don't make the same mistake again. These are all little things that will help build you up into the person you want to be. Your business, your plans, all of it are going to finally coincide if you embrace the fact that failure is just a part of the journey. It's okay. Humble yourself. Who do you like better? The friend who doesn't do anything wrong and never fails is doing such a great job that you maybe look up to still, or the one that does a really good job but is humble enough to say, listen, this was a struggle and this didn't work and I tried this and this didn't work. That honesty can sometimes bring us closer to our peers and also make us a more relatable person for people to look up to. Because it's one thing to look up and idolize somebody who can never do wrong, but we have to also understand in our hearts that that is not true. We all make mistakes. We all do wrong things. What we project on the internet or on our blogs or even when we're meeting up with our friends is sometimes not what's going on behind closed doors. So try to be honest about your struggle because it can help kind of spread that understanding that failure shouldn't be something that you are so scared of that you don't even try. So now I want to talk about practice. It's funny how many of us quit after barely doing something. For instance, if you're building a YouTube channel and you upload one video and you don't see it go viral, you stop practicing. You stop practicing your empire. And then you wonder why it's not working for you. That's much like deciding you're going to take up a sport and wondering why professionals are so much better than you. Yes, perhaps some very little percentage of that is genetics. It's what you're born with. It's maybe your creativity or your talent in sports and things of that nature. But a lot of it is practice. These people who are great at their craft did not get there by waking up one day with their thumb up their ass going, you know what? I'm going to be a professional. Professional implies that you have worked at something for a very long time, that you've practiced it, that you have learned about it to the extent that you can teach others and that others can come to you for advice on a subject. You do not get there if you do not practice. If you don't wake up every day and make a habit out of something, or if you don't ensure that you are putting out something for that goal at least once a week. And I understand that depression and anxiety and death can impact your motivation, and that there is no amount of healing that might be able to turn that around. But as long as you are slowly moving towards your goals and practicing things you want to get better at, you will get better at them. Sometimes we peak in something. For instance, I've been playing roller derby for 7 years, and I don't get much better. But I understand that this is because I, one, need to practice more, but two, also that my body has kind of come to its point. But by no means am I an amateur or a failure. I have practiced, I have learned, I have put my time and my energy into it, and it has paid out to me in that I don't suck at it. And sometimes that's the peak, is just that you don't suck. But the point is, you're never going to know if you're able to excel if you give up early. Practice and failure are essential parts of your character, your business, your relationships, and ultimately your passions. So if you're someone who's afraid of failure and you're someone who doesn't like to practice, understand that you are not going to be able to grow and learn and really reach the success you want until you start coming to terms with the shitty sides of things. Because no good doesn't come without bad. And if you can embrace the bad and it doesn't scare you, that gives you a lot more power than you had before. Thank you so much for coming and letting me yap at you about patience and essentially failure. And I hope that I get a chance to talk with you all soon. Please let me know if this helped. It certainly helped me to just remind myself to keep going. And I think that's just sometimes all we need. Have a wonderful week. Happiest Monday, and I will be back soon.